Welcome to TERRA at Home with your host, Chris Moretti.
Good morning and welcome to TERRA at Home. It's the time of year now where we're changing seasons. It's actually getting a little bit chilly, and we're joined now by Andrew Nichols from Crocs. Thank you so much for being with us, Andrew.
Thanks for having me back.
We've got a different look of Croc for a new season. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? Crocs are a lot more than we talk about. You joined us earlier this season to talk about our spring and summer line, and now we're transitioning yet again to offer fall and even a late fall option in what we've got here today.
Absolutely we do, Chris. There's some great opportunities for us to showcase some of our fall product. We have a great collection for spring, and now we want to translate that into some warmer wearing occasions, some opportunities for the kids to wear their shoes and the adults to wear their shoes as well. So one of the first things that I want to talk about are two of our platforms that we have for the younger kids. We've got the example here is the fur-lined ponies for the girls, and as well as a Cars play. So
very cool.
Obviously Disney Cars is synonymous with the little boys and girls, and so we've got some great shoes here that we can bring to that. You know, we continue to focus on the comfort, but then we add that extra little bit of warmth with the fuzz liner. So it's going to be a lot of fun for them. They don't have to worry about their little feet getting cold moving into the fall.
Crocs obviously are popular with the kids, especially in thinking about the original clog, you know, those original Crocs, and this is certainly a good way to bring this new line to that kid audience. Obviously it's very kid-friendly footwear and nice and cozy as well.
Absolutely, and actually that's probably a very good example of our Dawson collection. Very kid-friendly, easy on, easy off. You've got some nice elastics here. These are great little shoes, a little bit of fuzzy lining so it keeps their feet warm, but it's an opportunity for them to have a little bit more of a robust shoe for them, but that they can feel quite confident that they can get on and off without the help of their parents. It gives them a little bit of independence, and it shows them that they can start wearing shoes that are on their way to the big shoes.
Which is a great thing. Like you hit it right on the head there with a nice easy pull-on, take-off, ideal for toddlers and those sort of early age kids, something that will give them the support they need as opposed to, say, a slipper, but it's awfully cute too.
Very much so, very much so. And we see that the kids really love to be able to put on their own shoes, and the fact that they knew that they always wanted to wear their Crocs first because that was something very easy for them to put on. So this is a nice opportunity for us to continue that year round, give them something that they can put on themselves.
Fabulous. So it's not just about the kids though. We've got some for mom and dad as well. And again, when we think of Crocs, we often think of summer wear, but you've got some great alternatives for the chillier weather here for mom and dad too.
Absolutely. Mom's going to be very happy with what we have for her. What we've got here is the Cobbler collection. What I'm showing you here are really two different examples of our Cobbler platform. In this hand I've got the suede uppers, a beautiful shoe, very well put together with a nice furry liner inside, but continuing to have the Crocs comfort. But, you know, the suede still needs to be treated in the same manner as any other suede items. So
right, we often think of Crocs as being really easy care, and it was always the thought, you know, rinse them off with the hose when we're talking about the garden clog, but obviously with sort of a more upscale shoe comes more consideration, or at least different consideration for how we take care of them. So caring for these as you would any other suede shoe is important.
Absolutely. But by the same token, we recognize that that's not always going to be appropriate for all. So we've actually got an EVA version of the same platform. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility. You still have to, you know, obviously treat the inside liner with care, but you have an opportunity to wear a little bit more wet weather type of opportunities with this shoe, with less concern about how the suede treatment is going to be handled.
Okay, so this is actually sort of, it's a leather look with less maintenance and a bit more weather resistance, so you don't have to worry so much about damage.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, so that's the ladies taken care of. I love what's coming up next with some wear for the men. Tell us about these guys right here.
So we'll start with the Yukon platform. So what we've actually seen a great deal of success with TERRA is that the Yukon sport has been very well received by the men that are coming in. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to provide some viable options for them coming into the fall. And what I've got in my hand here are really two beautiful extensions. The first is the Yukon Sport lined. Here's an opportunity for, you know, the man to just slide their foot in the same way as they're familiar with, but giving themselves a little bit of warmth there.
Yeah.
So a great viable option. But one of the other things that we heard was, could we make it into a shoe? Could we really make a higher heel, something that they could put on? And this is an example of the Yukon shoe. So you've got the nice same leather upper.
Yep.
Right, you've got a beautiful shoe that can now just, you know, fully fit it in the heel. And so there's an opportunity for that guy in the house to really have something that he can wear very confidently throughout the fall season.
Yeah.
And it's just a very natural extension of what he'd already been buying and wearing in the summer.
And it's certainly a very nice rugged look. They're great for streetwear, and this one, with being a full shoe, I could even see you know, hopping onto a hiking trail with, if you were so inclined.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more of a robust shoe than some of the stuff that we would bring for the summer.
And finally, for great fall streetwear as well, we've got a great casual option here.
Yep.
That's perhaps a little bit more upscale again than we've been used to with some of the traditional options. This is a great shoe that you can feel really confident putting on. And again, would anyone think it was a Croc?
No, absolutely not. I think what we clearly came to market with was the Hover collection, a full canvas upper, and that demonstrated that we had a real viable position for the guy in the world, and for that matter, pretty much anybody, to take advantage of this new, very lightweight construction.
Yeah.
What you see here are just sort of a different overall treatment. So we've got the Hover lace up with leather and then the slip on with leather. So clearly a nice way for someone to add a little bit of a dress up element to it for their casual wearing occasion. Continues to have the same lightweight feel and comfort throughout. So it's a great opportunity, and definitely when you see them on the feet of people, you would never guess that they were Crocs, which is certainly an attribute that you know, the guy is going to appreciate: comfort while at the same time fashion and style.
Definitely perfect with jeans, these styles right here.
Yes.
Now, they definitely, as you said, you would never know when you think of traditional Crocs, you'd never know they were Crocs. But what is it about all of these things that make them Crocs?
Throughout all of it is our core DNA. The cross-light, the material that makes it both lightweight but very comfortable, is throughout. So what you may or may not be able to see is that all of the silhouettes we've talked about today, the footbed has got cross-light in it. And I think that that's going to be the core. And you'll see that woven through whatever it is that we make, is that the cross-light continues to deliver on those functional benefits, the lightweight and the comfort.
So no matter which style you choose, you've still got that great reliability of what you've come to know and trust from the Crocs brand.
Absolutely. We're simply looking for different places for you to wear those shoes.
Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for being with us. And of course, for all of you at home, if you're looking for any of the Crocs we've talked about today, and definitely different selections changing all the time, a TERRA location close to you is where to start. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Join us after the break for more fall fun from TERRA at home.
Come and explore the new TERRA, where color lives.
When we first bought the house, the lawn was nothing but brown. So I called my father-in-law. You know, he's really good with the lawn. He knows exactly what to do.
Well, I told him, you're Scott's turf builder. He said, well, I got this other stuff. And I told him, take it back to the store. But some brands have filler, like sand and gravel, stuff you don't want on your lawn. Scott's turf builder is pure food. Every granule's 100% nutrition. You get what you pay for every time. You see what happens, Tim, when you listen to your father-in-law?
All food, no filler. That's the Scott's advantage.
TERRA at Home, where we're now joined by Colleen Zimmermann. Thank you so much for being with us once again, Colleen.
My pleasure.
Every time you join us, it seems that we learn more and more about your many talents. We've picked your brain about flowers and about all sorts of different things, and now it turns out you're also an expert on birds.
Well, it's something extra to add to the garden that brings some life and some interesting things to it.
So now that we're in October, it's time to start thinking about the birds a little bit more again. Why feed birds in fall?
You should be feeding birds all year round, but it's particularly important to feed them in fall because they are migrating and they are trying to get ready for winter, the ones that do stay here. So they need the energy and they need that extra oomph in order for it to get through.
By offering food in the garden, is it possible to keep birds around throughout the entire winter season to enjoy?
Definitely, because especially this year since it was so hot, a lot of natural sources of food aren't there. So by supplementing the natural sources with bird seed, then that also helps keep them around and keeps them healthy through the winter.
So aside from things that you may have in your garden already that will be encouraging birds to stay around, like maybe letting your coneflowers stand and that kind of thing, you can also help to supplement that diet by having some great options as far as food and feeders concerned.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got all sorts of different types available here, and I know that there are different types of feeders for different types of birds. How do we discern what's for what?
Well, to start off with, one of the most popular types of birds to feed are the goldfinches.
Right.
And
oh, they're so happy and yellow. You like seeing them around.
Yep. Over the winter, they do dull down a little bit. They're not the bright yellow because that kind of makes them a target for predators.
Okay.
But in the wintertime, you can feed them, and they do stay around, and they're still nice songbirds in the winter, too. So for that, you would feed them Niger, which is a little black seed, or you can also feed them finch feed, which is a mix of seed.
Okay.
And you'll feed that in a Niger seed feeder. They're the ones with the small ports, so they have a really, really small little hole for the little seed to come out.
That makes sense. Small birds, small beaks, small food, small hole.
Exactly.
All kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the one nice thing about this too are squirrels don't like Niger seed.
Oh, good. Let's talk about squirrels, because for anyone who's been involved in feeding birds for any amount of time, that can be kind of a pesky thing. While I don't mind squirrels so much, it really is not very fun when you've spent time and money on putting the food out there for the birds and the squirrels feed it all. That can be a bit of a pain. So you've got some solutions for that too.
Yes, there are different ways. There are squirrel-resistant bird feeders.
Right.
Usually they're metal, and some of them are weighted, which not only helps you keep squirrels away, but some of the other large pesky birds, if you were trying to attract some of the smaller birds. So most of them, like this one here, it is weighted. So as it's hanging, small birds can sit on the perches, but when the squirrel sits on it, this perch will go down and it shuts off the feed from the squirrel.
Oh, so it's kind of weight related. So if something bigger will come, it'll just sort of close itself off?
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
And then with that as well, you can also use a squirrel-proof bird seed.
And that's what we have right here. How on earth do you make a seed squirrel-proof?
Basically, it's a regular mixed formula,
Okay.
but it has hot pepper in it.
Oh, and the birds don't mind that?
The birds don't mind it because they don't really have a sense of the heat in it.
Okay.
And the key to it is feeding it for a while, because just as you and I would get used to hot peppers, so will the squirrels.
Okay.
So feed it for a couple weeks until the squirrels start to go away, and then use your regular seed. And then once the squirrels start to come back again, then you feed it again. So it's a rotation.
Interesting. And that doesn't really hurt the squirrels either. It's just unpalatable?
Exactly.
Okay. Now you've got another interesting product here, no waste. What does that mean?
No waste means that all the shells have been taken off of the seeds.
Okay.
So some people will notice on the bottom they have shells on around the base of the bird feeder. So this has no shells, so there's no mess underneath your feeder.
That makes sense. So we've got an example of that right here. That's this one.
Yes.
So as opposed to this one over here that has all of the sunflower seed casings on top and everything else, you could see how much of a difference that is between the two. So this may leave a little bit of a mess under your feeder. Fair enough. This mix right here, now this is sort of a well-balanced blended mix that has sort of everything you think of when you think of bird seed in it. Would that attract maybe the biggest range of birds? Is that sort of why you'd want to use something like that?
A mix is usually the best to offer because it does attract everything from blue jays and cardinals, all the way down to chickadees and finches.
Okay, so by offering sort of a mix of different types of seed in there, we're attracting perhaps the widest range of species of birds to the backyard feeder, which is kind of nice. So we talked about the finch feeder over here. We've got a few other types available as well. Can you tell us about these and what the difference is?
This one here is just a regular tube feeder, so it's for mixed seed. Currently it has the no waste blend in it.
Okay.
And so it's kind of good for smaller birds because the perches are smaller. A blue jay would have a hard time sitting on the perch, so it's good for attracting smaller birds.
Okay. And then you got this one.
And then this feeder here is kind of interesting because you can decide what type of feed you want to feed with it, because you can feed either a mix or the finch seed just simply by turning the port around.
Oh, and so it's adjustable.
Yeah, so it's adjustable, so you can put either or in it.
Okay, so with this one feeder, you could perhaps 1 week focus on a nice big bird seed for perhaps the cardinals, blue jays, that kind of thing, and then switch over to a more finch friendly.
Exactly.
Interesting, I like that a lot. Feeders are coming a long way as far as style is concerned too, and you've got one example of that as well, where we're getting sort of away from the traditional look, and this is a little more modern, perhaps for an urban environment.
And this is actually a finch feeder too, so I'd use the small Niger seed in this.
Yep.
There are other versions that have larger holes that you can use for sunflower seed.
Okay, so it's just, they can feed anywhere along this hole too?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. And stainless steel means it won't rust outside, so that's good too. Yep. Awesome. Again, as we're getting closer to winter, we want to make sure we're giving the birds everything they need, and suet comes to mind. So you've got an example of that here too.
Yes, the suet is one of the common things that people associate with winter feeding, which is good all year round, but it's particularly in the winter because of the energy it provides. And this is also great for woodpeckers and nuthatches as well.
Okay. Why more energy for winter? Basically, they're burning more calories to stay warm?
They're burning more calories to stay warm, and if they are migrating, it takes a lot of energy to, fly down south for the winter.
That makes sense. In your opinion, what are some of the benefits to keeping birds in your yard? Why would you want to attract birds to your backyard, or your front yard for that matter?
They are very beneficial. They do help keep insect populations down because they do eat the larvae as well as the insects themselves. They also provide a great learning experience if you have children. And it's quite relaxing to sit outside and you hear the birds chirping, and they also help conceal other noises that may be in the area and just provide that extra bit of life.
Especially in the winter, I hate to say that word, but we are getting closer and closer to it. When the landscape's starting to lose some of its luster, it's nice to see some movement and some color out there as well. Colleen, thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about this. Of course, our friends at home can find all of this bird stuff at any TERRA location?
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Coming up after the break, some food, not for the birds, food for us in the kitchen with Chef Rachel, coming up right after the break on TERRA at Home.
Come and explore the new TERRA, where color lives.
AM 900 CHML is giving you more news when you want it most. Non-stop news weekday mornings 5 till 9, weekday afternoons 3 to 6, with weather and traffic on the 9s. Hear about it first from AM 900 CHML, Hamilton's news talk leader.
To TERRA at Home, where we're now joined in the kitchen, as always, by Chef Rachel Johnstone. Thanks for being with us, Rachel.
Thanks, as always, Chris.
We've got a beautiful spread of fresh ingredients in front of us. What are we going to make today?
Today we're making a chicken cacciatore.
Sounds great.
So an Italian dish, nice for the fall time, right? It's comforting with the tomatoes. I'm going to start by dredging the chicken pieces in flour.
Okay, so we're working with sort of boneless, skinless chicken here.
Yeah, we have breasts and thighs.
Okay.
So the breasts I just cut into chunks pretty much. I basically just cut them in half, cut the tender off, so we have a bunch of different pieces that we're going to go in there.
Okay.
And the flour is just all-purpose flour, but mixed with a little bit of salt and pepper, so it's seasoned a bit already.
Perfect.
So what we want to do is just lightly dredge these in the flour, and then they're ready to fry.
That's easy enough.
Okay.
Chicken cacciatore is one of those things that I've always heard the name of, but I don't really know what it is. I know it's Italian, I know it involves chicken and tomatoes, but what exactly is cacciatore, and what makes it chicken cacciatore?
Okay, you're right. It is an Italian dish. It translates to hunter's style.
Okay.
So you're always going to have chicken, obviously. Sometimes other meat is used. I believe rabbit can be used sometimes. There's always going to be some onions, bell peppers, and diced tomatoes.
Okay.
You can put in mushrooms if you'd like. I mean, you can add stuff to it. Everywhere is different. I mean, in Italy, they use kind of just what's in season.
Right.
We're going to put some capers in ours today.
And I see chili flakes here. We're going to add a bit of heat.
Yeah, I like a little bit of heat. So
All right.
I think that goes nice with tomatoes always, the chili flakes. So we're going to put those in.
I noticed an absence of garlic. So I guess that would be an optional ingredient as well. We're not working with it today, but I suppose if you really wanted to use the garlic, that could be added in as well?
For sure. Yeah, and I'll tell you when you can add that into your pan. Yeah, no garlic today. Well, I always have garlic, but I decided against that today. So this, you know, again, you can always change the recipe to make it how you'd like it.
Perfect.
Now, wine is sometimes used in the chicken cacciatore too. That's kind of a tongue twister to say. I'll just give that to you. Wine is sometimes used. We're going to use white wine today. You can use red as well. I think in different parts of Italy, they use one or the other depending on what they're used to there. But we have some white wine.
Okay.
And we're going to.
That's good to know. I mean, that way red wine is an option. So if you happen to have one versus the other on hand, you could substitute.
Of course you can. It'll work just as well. Again, because you have the tomatoes, usually you don't want to be using red wine if your sauce is going to be a light white sauce, right?
Right.
You want to stick with the white, but because we're using the tomatoes, the red works just as well. So we have some oil in the pan here. Get it a little higher before I add the rest of the chicken, but we just want to sear the chicken on both sides.
Okay.
That'll take just a couple minutes, and then once they're all browned on each side, we can take them out and put the rest of the ingredients in.
I see.
These don't need to fully cook right now because we're going to put them back in with the sauce after and let them simmer.
Okay.
Okay.
So the idea for this initial cooking process is just to sear them, seal in the juices, and get a bit of color on there?
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we'll finish putting these in here, and then we'll get started with the other ingredients.
Great.
Might have to do it in batches too if you can't fit it all in one pan. I'm gonna make this work.
We're resourceful in the TERRA at Home kitchen.
Yes. Okay.
Or stubborn, one of the two.
I'll trade you that for the clean plate that we can put these on when they're done. Okay, so we'll get those going. In the meantime, we'll finish dicing this onion. So this is just a small white onion.
Okay.
And I'm dicing it into a medium dice.
All right.
So for this, we'll just make a slit across and a couple thick ones down. And then that's such an easy way to dice an onion.
I do like that. And you know, I've watched you do this a number of times, and yet at home I still don't do it that way because I just don't think of it somehow, and I end up doing it the hard way. So
yeah,
note
this
to self.
Seems to just make it a little bit easier, but whatever works for you. Okay, and I've already diced up the pepper. Again, just a nice chunky medium-sized dice.
Sounds good.
We're going to use some dried oregano in here too, but we also have some fresh. Maybe we'll put that on at the very end.
Sounds great. We got a nice sizzle going now on that chicken.
Yeah, so we can turn all these pieces over. It might be a good idea too, if you have thicker pieces, you can pound them out a little bit.
I see.
To make them a bit thinner, because I took the tenders off here, so these will cook a little faster than the rest. But anyways, you just want to make sure that these are browned on all sides, and then we can simmer it in there for a while. It'll be nice and moist because you're simmering it in the sauce. Okay, so those are almost ready to come out. We're going to serve this with a nice whole wheat spaghetti too.
Nice.
So we'll get the water boiling for that, just some salted water. That won't take quite as long, so we don't need to put that on quite yet. Maybe when all the ingredients go into the pan.
All right.
Okay.
And you said we're working with a red bell pepper as well, our capers, our tomatoes. The tomatoes too are seasoned, but of course if you've got It might be a great option to use tomatoes from your own garden if you've still got some left, or perhaps you can some, which is something that I love to do, or even freezing them. Having garden fresh tomatoes on hand to work with is perfect for this kind of dish that you're going to work on all throughout the fall and through the winter, that great comfort food. Fabulous to have on hand.
Okay, so this chicken's looking good. I'm getting brown there. Okay,
Great.
so now from here, in the same pan, we will add the onions. At this time, you would add the garlic if you wanted to use that.
That
Some
makes
chopped
sense.
garlic. So just get those, you want these to just cook down for a couple minutes until they get a little soft. The red pepper's right in there. There we go.
Great.
At the same time, we can add our chili flakes and oregano.
Okay.
Perfect. And then now all we have to do is deglaze it with the white wine. You want to hear a nice simmer there?
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay, and the rest of our ingredients are chicken stock, our tomatoes,
Perfect.
capers. We'll put the chicken back in there and we'll
Okay.
let it simmer for about 20-25 minutes.
All right, so everything back into the pan. We'll see you after this short break. When we come back, we'll put that together with our pasta and see the finished product. Stay with us.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.
Welcome back to Terra at Home, where our kitchen is smelling simply delicious. Rachel, our chicken cacciatore has come to fruition, and it looks and smells amazing.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so before the break, we were putting all of our ingredients in here. We deglazed the pan with the onions and peppers with the white wine, added in the diced tomatoes, the stock, the capers, and then put the chicken pieces back in, and it's just been simmering for about 25 minutes or so.
And it reduces nicely where it's not very watery. All that, with that water, that wine, that stock is all kind of boiled away, and it looks thick and delicious and lovely.
The sauce is nice and thick. Now, you know, if you have chicken pieces that are smaller, don't take as long to cook. You can always take them out when they're done and just simmer the sauce by itself, because you want it to be a little thick, right? And then we've got our spaghetti here that's been boiled, so I'll just put a little bit of spaghetti on each plate.
Great.
And then we'll put the chicken cacciatore on top.
Beautiful. And naturally we'll garnish with some fresh herbs. We always have fresh herbs to work with in the kitchen, so we put dried oregano into the sauce, so we'll be garnishing with a little bit of fresh oregano from our planter, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Of course, as always, you can find this and all of Chef Rachel's recipes available at terragreenhouses.com. I can't wait to try it.
There we go.
Fresh flavors, perfect for fall, for sure.
There's a lot of different herbs you can use too. Basil would be really nice, or even some Italian parsley. So I would give each person maybe, you know, 3 or 4 chunks of chicken, depending on the size of your appetite. So I would serve the chicken first on top of the pasta, and then using a spoon, we'll spoon the sauce over top of that.
Sounds great. I'll garnish with the oregano there.
Okay.
And we're ready to go. Join us
there
next
we go.
week for more great meal ideas right here in the Terra at Home kitchen with Chef Rachel on Terra at Home.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.